In today's video, we're going to break down a trend trading setup in a little bit more detail. We'll take a look at an example on the S&P. We'll start with the 5-minute time frame chart, and we'll take a look at two other time frames as well to zoom in on the same exact setup here. Now, to get started, we'll need to break down what each one of these indicators is on our charts and the value it provides. Now, the first thing to call out is the market pulse line. And that's this line that we see on our chart here, which turns red and green. The market pulse line is a free indicator that you can download from our website, and it helps us understand what the overall trend is in one easy glance here. So for example, we can see the trend was bearish early on pre-market, and since the market opens, that transitioned, and ever since it went green, it hasn't really transitioned back to red yet, at least on a 5-minute time frame chart, all the way up through even the close here. So right off the bat, the market pulse indicator is telling us that our trend is up. Now we use our squeeze arrows to try and determine where can we participate in this trend. For all Volatility Box members, you can download the squeeze arrows for free from our website. That's tosindicators.com/squeeze-course. The squeeze course is included for free with your membership. That includes all of these indicators, including the triple squeeze, which is this squeeze right down here, along with the slingshot squeeze and squeeze signals arrows, which we'll discuss, and each one of their backtesters, which we'll be using one in today's video. So be sure to download those tools and follow along so you can test this setup in a little bit more detail. Now, once I click OK here, let's take a look at where this setup started brewing. Now on our chart here, we can see two different arrows, and both of these arrows represent when the setup took place. We first had the slingshot squeeze, and then we had the squeeze signal arrows. The way to read or think about both of these arrows is they're really a 1-2 punch. When we see the yellow arrow, that's really telling you that, hey, momentum is starting to increase. It's still below zero here, but momentum is increasing, and we're looking for that to catapult, to turn into more momentum. Once you see the sign arrow, that's really your last chance to get in this trade. That's the way I like to think about it, at least. Now we know momentum has shifted to the positive side, so we know this catapult is completed. We know momentum is now really tumbleweeding, and we're looking to join in on that before the squeeze actually fires long. And that's what happens here. We do get news come out, but we knew of the signals well before that news even came into play. So the setup was valid. The news was really just the catalyst to help us reach the target a little bit faster. Now, in terms of the target, we like to use the Volatility Box's target line from the hour in which the trade triggers. So for example, on that 5-minute chart, if you're playing this on the 5-minute, this would be the target we're looking at. Now, let's see what happens if we backtest these arrows to try and get a feel for how effective have they been recently. Of course, we look at them, that's one thing, but having data is something that's a little bit more useful sometimes as well. So if I load in our backtester, we click apply, and this is going back 5 days. On the 5-minute time frame chart, we can see we've had a total of 4 winners, 0 losers, and that's 4 including, I believe, this trade right here. So it should be otherwise 3-0 headed into this particular trade. So that's telling us that, hey, there's a little bit more confidence here that this setup at least has been working for the past 5 days. It's triggered a handful of times, and those handful of times it's panned out. But what happens if you just use this data here, the fact that this trade has been working, as your means of confidence that, hey, now you have a reason to look long? We zoom in a little bit closer into our time frames to pinpoint a more precise entry. We don't like taking entries during the lunchtime hour as it is. This just gives us bias towards the long side. What happens if we try and now get a little bit smaller in our time frames? Do we get better entries? So I'll zoom into a 3-minute time frame chart next. And on a 3-minute time frame, we can see we have two different arrows during that same time period of this setup. The first arrow, 9:42 a.m. Pacific. So this is after the 5-minute slingshot squeeze. After we know that first sign that, hey, momentum is building up on the 5-minute, this arrow comes after that. The second arrow comes in the same squeeze, so it's yet to fire, and it's really your last entry point before the squeeze really just starts to get going. Now the second arrow comes a little bit after that 10 a.m. Pacific mark, 10:21. So we've now cleared past the lunchtime hour. We've let that go behind us. We still have an active squeeze setup on the 5-minute and now even the 3-minute time frame. And here we've had 1 and 2 different squeeze signal arrows with the market pulse now having gone green in the second arrow. If you take a look at this 3-minute here, you can see a little bit glimmer of red before. So this first arrow doesn't really inspire all that much confidence compared to the second one, where at least we know that, hey, now at least the trend has broken to us even on this time frame. Now, if you're thinking, hey, let's try and zoom in even further than the 3-minute, we can come into something like the 1-minute time frame chart here. On the 1-minute time frame, if we take a look at that same exact period here, we lose the luxury of having the market pulse be a sustained period of green here. We don't have that. We see back and forth red, green, back to green here. Now we go red again. So we don't really have that same clarity as we did on a 5-minute. A little bit more noise here. If we focus on just the arrows that we see on our chart, we have 1, 2, and 3 arrows. All 3 of these arrows come once the market pulse has gone green, but it, again, isn't as lucrative as something like, say, that 5-minute or the 3-minute time frame chart in which that market pulse has been green for quite some time. So hopefully this illustrates the difference. The 5-minute, the 3-minute, even with that second arrow, still sustained period of green, we come into that 1-minute time frame chart, we don't have that same kind of trend clarity as we do on the 3 and the 5. But even then, if we just count the arrows for the sake of counting the arrows, 9:52, then we have 10:14, and then we have 10:21 as the final arrow. This final arrow overlaps with even the 3-minute one, and again, we've noticed that that was really the last entry point before the squeeze just started to take off. So out of the 3 different time frames we've seen, the 5-minute gave us some nice bias. The 3-minute allowed us to zoom in, focus in on that same setup, and just find a slightly better entry here. And that 1-minute gave us a little bit more noise, but you still had the opportunity to see more arrows still supporting this bullish side of the trade. For those of you that are squeeze traders, I hope you found today's video to be useful, at least in studying the same setup across a few different time frames. For all Volatility Box members, one more time, you can download these tools for free from our website. They're included with your membership. The slingshot squeeze, the squeeze signals arrows, and the triple pro squeeze we discussed today, along with the actual squeeze signals backtester. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and I'll see you in the next update.